What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. And today we're gonna be looking at the new season 1.3, the new patch notes that came out on April 20th. Because as you may know, some interesting things happen. And to start, we have the wind delta and everything. And I'll come back to that later, when we talk about the other details of this. Again, ban rate. But let's start here. Ace, who you guys might not know this, but I play Ace a lot because I love the AK-12. And they replaced his smoke grenades with a claymore, but now his Selma will destroy a black mirror, which is very interesting because Mira is banned a lot. And Ace is banned a good amount. But if we look at defenders, Mira is picked a lot because of the whole bulletproof meta going on, and Ace is picked a lot, when it comes to attackers because of the AK-12 and his gadget and being able to cover his own plant, which he cannot cover his own plant anymore because now he is losing his smoke grenades. But the interesting thing about it is that if we scroll down, Thermite is getting Ace's smoke grenades. So Thermite's always been able to destroy black mirrors if he places a charge like right next to it, basically. At least I think so. But so now Ace is losing his smokes and giving them to Thermite, and I guess trading claymores, which is interesting. But Ace will probably stay in this position now that he can destroy black mirrors. I don't think he'll move behind, and Thermite will move up. And Thermite is still a very good hard breacher, but again, this adds a lot of utility to Ace, even though he does lose his smoke grenades, which are pretty good right now. But that is very interesting. But the important ones are these two. So they nerfed Jackal's C7E, which now solidifies that the AK-12, again, Ace's gun, is now the best gun in the game. Because, used to be unsure because C7E used to have a little more damage than AK-12, but now that is not true. So Jackal obviously has an incredibly high ban rate, not as high as Thatcher, but a very high ban rate. Because, well, it's pretty obvious, right? And so nerfing his gun could help. And, Jackal is seen in, almost constantly, if he's not banned. I use PDW anyway, but this is just targeting pretty much most of the community. You got your high elo and casual. Because, man, Jackal's just real annoying. People don't like him. And I think this is a good nerf, and I think it's good that UB is at least trying to fix things like this, where he's picked a lot, he has a pretty good win rate, and he's banned almost all the time, which is why but even with all those bans, he still has, 30% presence, which is insane, because this is ranked plat or above. Meaning, if he is not banned, he is picked, more or less, because he's banned 44% of the time, which is very interesting. But then we have Jaeger, which is the one a lot of people have mixed feelings about, and I think it's great. Because as Macy J once said today, he said if you have a really good gadget, it could warrant a gun nerf, and vice versa. If you have a really good gun, it could warrant a gadget nerf. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Jaeger has a really good gadget, and so they're going to nerf his gun. And I think this is a good nerf because having that vertical grip always made this thing quite a laser beam, and not having to reload as often was also a big problem. That would just boost Jaeger because in real life and in the game, Jaeger basically has an R4C, but it's not called an R4C, even has the same noise and stuff. So basically, 416, getting nerfed, which I think is a good thing that Yubi's doing, and I think that's a good idea. Next, we have Tachanka, who is getting a huge buff. So now he has bigger capacity in the Shumika launcher, fire duration increased, reduced detonation time, increased radius, increased projectile, so less drop, increased speed, and then they're also buffing his DB27. And I think this is all great, because the Tachanka rework was a good thing to happen. As much as Lord Tachanka was memed and everything, he needed a rework, and that's what he got. And that's very good. And I think this is definitely going to, launch his pick rate, because the Shumika launcher is going to be very effective. And, it's more or less, because with the bulletproof meta, that's why Goyo is good. But, because he has the shield, but now Tachanka with his Shumika launcher, and then also I think Tachanka has a deployable shield, meaning he's basically just better Goyo at this point. And Goyo, what's Goyo's pick rate? Let's see. Not very high, but Goyo with his shields are just buff shields, which are good because of the bulletproof meta. And then again, the Thermite thing I talked about earlier, so now Thermite is able to cover its own plant, which will probably make his pick rate a little higher. But still, nothing it used to be before Ace and Maverick and even Hibana. Before Hibana, you kind of had to pick Thermite because then they wouldn't have Heart Breach. But anyway, and then this is a big thing because I really like DMRs. I use cameras a lot of the time. I really like DMRs. I use TCSG on Goyo and Cade. You might say, that's not a shotgun. That's not a DMR. It's a shotgun. It's a DMR. Don't lie to yourself. It's Slug Rounds. It's a DMR. It's a 2X. But this is interesting because I love running around with 417 on Twitch and just bopping people with a hollow. I cannot do that anymore. So now DMRs will no longer have 1x scopes and will now have 3x, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. Which I think is really interesting because, well, for one, now freaking, it's going to be like OG Siege because people are going to run up with OG ACOGs on DMRs. But it's very interesting because I can just not imagine these sites. I can imagine Hollow, or I can imagine OG ACOG because, that's how it was. But just 1.5x, which, that's on Mark 14 for a Rooney, so it makes sense. But it's just very interesting change. And it says, they're supposed to be for long-range engagements. But I think the whole point, I use DMRs in close-range engagements a lot because I rush in with Twitch, and it's super fun, especially on a map like Skyscraper. I think that's very fun to do. And they're kind of taking that away. And, the 1.5x is my favorite scope on the game. Don't at me. But I don't know. This is just a very interesting change. I don't think it was that necessary. I think they could have just added these scopes because I would have probably put on 1.5 on most DMRs. But I don't think it was necessary to remove the 1x scope. I think that's a very interesting change, and I want to see how it works out. But this is the Year 1 Season 1.3 patch notes. Very interesting patch notes for sure, because very needed changes for a lot of things. But yeah, I'm very excited for when this patch goes live, and we'll see what it entails. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.